Before I begin, I want to make clear I'm absolutely horrified by the tragic death of George Floyd at the hands of a police officer. To the family, friends, and loved ones of the Floyd family, I offer my condolences, and I hope that you find both justice and solace in the days to come. These will be very trying times for you, and my prayers are with you. There is absolutely no reason why a police officer should use that level of force at the very beginning of an encounter unless it's a final resort and only when personal or public safety becomes paramount. I've seen the video, and Mr. Floyd was no danger to anybody, and the police officers on the scene had everything under control. There was no need to escalate this to the point that we witnessed in the video. I hope that the police officer is tried in a court of law. He receives a sentence that is appropriate for his actions, and that he is put in jail for a very long time, preferably 25 to life. Of course, this video is not about that today. This video is about the reaction to the death of George Floyd, and I'd like to address that on two fronts. The first one is the conclusions people have drawn rather quickly without waiting for a formal investigation, a public inquiry, or a court of trial. None of these things have happened yet, but people appear to have the answers based on their gut feelings and emotions. The conclusions that I have heard, regrettably, is that it's a difference of skin color. Mr. Floyd's skin is black. The police officer's skin was white. And because there was a difference in skin color, it's automatically racism again. And because the police officer is being assumed a racist, therefore all police officers are racist. We don't know what was going on in the mind of the police officer during this incident. Yes, the video clearly shows police brutality at its most heinous. And as I stated before, I want that police officer punished. I want him to go to jail. I want him to serve a sentence. That point is without refute. You cannot say that I am supporting a police officer that has that sort of approach to dealing with the public, particularly where excessive force is involved. What I am saying is that we do not know what was going on in the mind of that police officer at the time this incident occurred. What was he thinking? What was he feeling? What was his thought processes that led to the point of unfortunately asphyxiating Mr. Floyd? Does that action alone prove that he's racist? Does his actions based on that assumption make the police force inherently racist? Black Lives Matter is guilty of fanning the flames of the situation by saying that everything's racist, systemic racism, police are racist, whites are racist. Never mind the fact that they had not even begun to think about what was going on. That's their song they dance to. That's the tune they sing every single time something like this happens. There is no thought. There's no understanding of the situation. Police are racist. Whites are racist. There you go. Case closed. Throw the book at them. We're not sure about what happened. All we know is that a horrible incident of police brutality has occurred, but we do not know if the man himself is racist. That does not excuse his actions. He still has to go to jail, but to say that he's racist and therefore the police are racist is absolutely the wrong approach to go. That is a bunker mentality way of thinking of things, and that is something that we cannot allow ourselves to be drawn into without discussing the facts first. Another fault that Black Lives Matter is guilty of is the fact that not one member of Black Lives Matter, be it supporters, be it the rank and file, be it the founders and organizers, not one of them have ever stated that the riots were wrong, and not one of them have ever urged for peace and calm. This is in stark contrast to the Floyd families pleading for calm and peace and telling those people who are rioting that smashing windows, setting things on fire will not bring George Floyd back. Only justice is the route to go, and in order for us to have justice, we must obey the law at all times. That is without challenge and without question. We need to follow the law and obey the law. The law is the law is the law. On the topic of the riots themselves, I have talked to people on Twitter who have stated that the riots are a direct response to peaceful discussions in the past that have gone nowhere. And now that peace doesn't seem to work, let's kick her up a notch and start burning things and looting stores and terrorizing people. Maybe that'll be an agent of change to deal with social issues. I have news for them. We have had riots as far back as Rodney King when he was beaten by police officers. We can even go even further back to the civil rights days, where yes, we've actually had police officers beating protesters. Though, in comparison to what we're seeing now, that was certainly milder because again, in those days things were of a more civil time than what we are seeing now. We've had all of these riots almost every 2 years, in fact, and nothing. And we've seen the same old pictures. We've seen police cars on fires. We've seen people running off with TVs and phones in their hands, and yet nothing has happened. So yeah, maybe talking didn't work, but clearly the rioting's not working. So why should we continue with the rioting? What's the point? If it's not working as well as the talking doesn't work, then why are we doing this? Except maybe to use it as an excuse to get free stuff. I've also been told that the rioting is fine because while property on fire and cars on fire could be replaced or rebuilt, lives can never return. Well, I believe I brought up Mr. Floyd's family saying that, well, the rioting is not going to bring back Mr. George Floyd either. But I'd like to add my 2 cents worth to this as well. Sometimes it takes a lifetime to get a business started. Sometimes these businesses may have been in the hands of the family running the business for more than one generation. You know, it might be a mom and pop operation that it was passed down to the children, and now they're running it. Okay, so that business is shut down, and it's very possible that these people may not be able to come back from the brink due to the damage caused. There may be so much damage to the building that the business is simply not viable, and the business is gone. Ditto for people who live in homes. If their homes are damaged due to fires, Molotov cocktails being flung at them, where are these people going to go when those houses are destroyed? How does it work in a state of martial law and curfew caused by the rioters, where people can't go to the store to get medicine or food, or they can't go to work? Let's take this to a final conclusion, this reasoning. What are these people who are terrorized and looted and beaten up by rioters? What happens if these people are black? All right, so you are challenging hate with hate. You are challenging violence with violence. You are championing the cause of an identifiable group. Let's use the Black community as that example. And yet, members of the Black community are being harmed. Do you really have an argument anymore? Do you really have a valid platform to stand on? Or haven't you become, in fact, just as bad as the so called oppressive police force that you're fighting against? One might argue you've actually done worse because you're not elected, you're not deputized, you're vigilantes. I will actually echo a quote from Mr. Ben Shapiro, who is a commentator on YouTube and runs his own show on Newswire. And he was also a lawyer who understands the law fairly well, a lot better than I do. I will quote him as saying that the rioters are in fact evil, that they are committing acts of violence that go against biblical law. Thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not cause harm to others. So, in trying to ensure the law is applied to the police, they themselves break the law. If that is not an epic double standard, I don't know what is. And on top of this all, Black Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter is in the middle of it. Their banners have been seen flying alongside Antifa banners, which we know is an anarchist, anti-government group that feels force is a valid tool no matter what. That they don't obey the law and they don't respect those people around them for as long as they get their way. Black Lives Matter marches have featured participants chanting, and I actually jotted this down from a video I watched. Here we are. What do we want? Dead cops. When do we want it? Now. So they want to hurt police officers. They don't want black people hurt, but they want to hurt police officers. And some of these police officers happen to be black or members of the ethnic minority community. Let me put my 2 cents worth in on this. I've never been a fan of using violence and lawlessness to champion a cause. Yes, I believe in peaceful protest. I was born in the 1960s and lived through the 1970s as a child. So yeah, I get it. Flower power, peace, love, man, far out groovy. I mean, I get that. I am part of that culture that believes that we should talk things out before raising our fists in anger. I'm all part of diversity. I believe diversity is a strength. I believe in the Canadian mosaic. But in order for us to get along peacefully, we have to listen. We cannot go into this bunker mentality where one group is us and everyone else is them. And we have an us versus them mentality where they're the enemy. We don't want to hear what they have to say because they're different. And it's gone to that point where the us versus them mentality has gotten so radical. The other is not even human anymore. They're like aliens from outer space. They're not human. You can't reason with them. You can't talk with them. And to talk with them is putting yourself in a position of weakness. I've never believed that. I believe in all lives matter. And it's not a bad word. It is not a condescending spin on Black Lives Matter. All lives matter means we take the color out of the equation. We stop focusing on the color of the people involved, both the victim and the assailant. And we look at what has been lost. We look at the loss of life. We know that life that that life was lost tragically, and we know it was the result of police brutality. Excuse me. And from that point, we need to sit down as a single unified society where we find a platform of consensus to exchange ideas and see other people's point of view so that we can work out a solution so that this never happens again. Without question, riots will not solve the problem, and they will never solve the problem. You're not going to get people to listen to you if you're burning up their store or looting a house or setting fire to the cars. People will not listen to rioters when they do that. People will run away from the rioters and not listen. Worse, they may run in the direction of people we do not want to listen to. While these riots are going on, while the fires burn, while the stores are being looted, there are people, one could call them the quote unquote respectable racist. They're watching, they're listening, they're taking notes. They're seeing what these people are doing to stores and houses and cars. And then they walk out and they talk to these terrified people who are cowering in the corner right now, looking for answers and looking for salvation. And they will kneel down in front of these people and say, "See, I told you so." And these people who are frightened and scared will listen to these people. And that's not what we want. We don't want this. We don't need these people. We do not want our population to turn away from a society where all lives really do matter and where we have to talk our problems out. We don't want people to turn their back on that and then listen to this group of radical right-wingers who will build their own little bunker faction and use that as an opposing bulwark against factions like Black Lives Matter. And then we now have an even worse situation that we're now in. We can't have that. We have to stop. We have to get out from behind the bunkers, both on the left and the right, both on the black and the white sides, and just acknowledge the fact that yes, we have a problem, but it's a social issue. And it's going to take a united society to fix the problem. Our failure to do that will mean more riots, more acts of police brutality. And as things get more and more militant and out of control, one day it'll all come crashing down. And we will be wondering, how did we end up here as the last vestige of our society falls apart and we fall into utter anarchy? I'll tell you what happened. We refused to talk. We just blamed and burnt. Thanks for taking the time to listen to my video. I welcome your comments and opinions below in the comments section. And in the meantime, I wish you all safety, good health, and happiness. Bye for now.